Hey, it's Ken. Time to do another video. Today we're going to talk about 300 Blackout. But before we get started, we're going to do take care of a couple of at least one administrative thing. From the very beginning, I've said that all the videos I'm doing are for preppers. And basically what I'll be doing is responding to things that I think are kind of jacked up on YouTube. A lot of the stuff that I respond to is talking about current trends and how they affect you and how you really don't want to follow that trend. Comments I see people make about certain subjects, etc. Today's going to be one of those comment responses. But I also want to remind you that I also said that it's just me here, right? Me and an iPhone. You're not going to get good quality video. You're not going to get good quality sound, right? It's just me and an iPhone. But I will do my best to pass on the best information I can find to you. When I have an opinion, I'm going to say it's my opinion. If you recall, I say a lot of times that we talk about concepts. Right? I'm not telling you how to do it. It's just a concept behind what needs to be done. So I will say this, if you're looking for a high quality video, lots of attitude, and mini movies, my videos are not for you. This is information, strictly information. And if you're good with that, then hang out. All right? So I do have my notes here. You'll see me looking down at them. It is what it is. I've got my coffee here because this one might take me a while. I may have to restart and cut shit out and whatever. Okay, but we're going to get there. Not too long ago, like maybe within the last week, Lemon Grenade, M26 Lemon Grenade posted a short about 300 Blackout. Now, this is not a response video to M26 Lemon Grenade, okay? I don't really, it doesn't bother me, right? Lemon Grenade doesn't like the 300 Blackout. No problem, right? Doesn't bother me, okay? I don't, for you personally, whether you love, hate, or indifferent to the 300 Blackout, I don't care, right? The main purpose of this video is to actually get into the facts of what 300 Blackout is, why it was designed, and what purpose was it to serve. Not the nonsense that you see in comments on YouTube videos, right? Not that. Okay, so there are going to be a couple of documents here that I'm going to show you. The first one is this, right? I'm going to link it in the video, right? Yeah, I know, I'm covering my head. It's okay. This is the first one here, all right? I'm going to read it to you. Increasing small arms lethality in Afghanistan, taking back the infantry half kilometer. Now, what's interesting about this document is this is going to give us the why. Why was 300 Blackout designed? Okay, and interesting enough, this document was provided by M26 Lemon Grenade in a different video. Okay, like I said, this is not a response to him. This is a response to some of the comments I saw on what he did. Personally, I don't care if you like the 300 Blackout or not, right? My problem is in the comments, I can see that people have zero clue about what's really going on with the 300 Blackout. The next document we're going to talk about, if I can freaking find it. Hold on, I didn't bring it. All right, sorry about that. Let's try it again. Here it is. Okay. The name of this, I've already told you the name. This is the actual document, not my notes, sorry. I'll put a link to the description to this document, okay? The next document we'll use is this one right here. Okay? It is called The History of the 300 AAC Blackout Cartridge from Firearm News. And it was written or published in April of, oh, excuse me, that's not correct, October 2024. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to use those two documents. We're going to discuss the why and the what. And then finally, I'm going to discuss my opinion on why I think people do not like the 300 Blackout. So as I said, stop, start, and we'll just keep going as it goes. And I'll try to cut out as much of the nonsense I can. Okay? All right, the first document, Increasing Small Arms Lethality in Afghanistan. I want to give you a brief overview and then discuss what's pertinent to what we're talking about right now. This is an Army-specific document. It does not cover the SEAL, Recce, Sniper, M4 Sniper, whatever you want to call it, that the SEALs created in the early 1990s. It does not cover that at all. It also does not cover the Mark 12 SPR. Okay, doesn't cover that at all either. Now, I don't know, maybe because these two weapons are designated as special operations weapons, that he doesn't discuss them. Okay, what he's talking about is the regular Army infantry units and the weapons and the ammunition they use. Included in this document is a brief history of the infantry rifle covering 1917 through 2003. In it, Major Earnhardt suggests that we need to move to a larger cartridge or larger projectile, specifically the 6.8 SPC, the 6.5 Grendel, and the 7mm arc. He discusses each one, gives pros and cons, but he doesn't choose which cartridge he says he believes is best. He just says we need to move to something bigger. Okay? So he goes on to talk about what happened in Afghanistan. He said that studies have shown that 50% of engagements in Afghanistan were beyond 300 meters. The current listed maximum effective range of 500 meters for the M4 is incorrect. This range accounts for the mechanical accuracy of the M4, but not the lethality of the terminal capabilities of the cartridge being fired. I think if you watch my videos, you've heard this before, right? The current infantry arms combination, the M4 firing the M855 green tip, is not lethal or does not create an incapacitating wound past 200 meters. His words, not mine. Targets hit past 200 meters result in an ice pick wound. Effectiveness or incapacitation hits past 200 meters require the projectile striking a vital area of the target. In other words, if you're not hitting the organ, you're wasting your bullets, right, past 200 meters. And if you watch my videos, you know that the issue is muzzle velocity. The 5.56 projectile, its lethality is based on muzzle velocity. But what the major says here that I found kind of interesting was that the M855 green tip will not fragment and it will not tumble if the muzzle velocity is less than 2,500 meters, which I'm not surprised. I didn't think it was that low, but that's what he says. If you go below 2,500 feet per second, the M855 will not tumble and it will not fragment. Issues with the M855 were reported as early as Operation Desert Storm, with its longer engagement distances, and in Somalia where targets were malnourished and not wearing body armor, aka skinnies. Okay, so when I was talking about that, about this subject, the M855 being fired from a 14.5 inch barrel. One of the things I said was that the 5.56 is not an ineffective cartridge. What makes 5.56 ineffective is we continue to shorten the barrel to the effect that it becomes ineffective. And also during that video, I said that I have heard some stories about the ineffectiveness of the 5.56 from short barrel rifles. And I wasn't going to repeat them there at that video because the stories I heard were all third hand, right? Third hand stories. So I am going to give you two stories here that the major listed in his paper that he speaks personally of. Okay, so I don't mind reading these to you because this is his thing and not mine. All right. In 1991, then Lieutenant Colonel David Petraeus was shot in the chest with an M855 projectile fired from a squad automatic weapon. He walked out of the hospital several days later. Story number 2, a soldier shot in the shoulder from a distance of 75 meters during a night live fire exercise was walking around smoking a cigarette 20 minutes later. Okay? Then he goes on to say, if the M855 had functioned as expected, both of these incidents would have probably resulted in a fatality. Okay? And that's what I was also saying in that video. I believe it is barrel length 2. When you shorten the barrel length too much and you're reducing the muzzle velocity of the 5.56, the last thing you want to do is see your projectile, or you see your target. After you get a target hit, the last thing you want to see him do is to get up. He's walking around smoking and joking, right? Okay, so this is the why that 300 Blackout was created. Okay, now this document was written in 2009, and now we're going to move on to the next document, which was published in 2024. The author of this article, The History of the 300 AAC Blackout cartridge, contacted Robert Silvers of Advanced Armament Corp, AAC, for this interview, and the reason that's important because he was part of the development of the 300 Blackout. Silver states AAC was contacted in 2010 by a government agency to produce a firearm using Remington Defense 300 221 Fireball, aka 300 Whisper type ammunition. Okay, so a couple of things here. The first document was when the major was reporting all of these problems that they were having since in Afghanistan, starting in the Gulf War with the M855 green tip. That document was published in 2009. A federal government agency wonder who that was, contacted AAC in 2010. Now, the question is, do you think that's coincidental? I don't, right? Worked for the federal government for 21 years. There's not a lot of coincidences in the federal government, okay? Not a lot of coincidences. 2, the second thing I want to talk about before we get into to what the government agency wanted. 300 Blackout, was not, it's the best way to say this. 300 Blackout was never a pistol cartridge, okay? Now, I did have one person respond to my comments on Lemon Grenade's short about the 300 Blackout, and he said the reason he did not like it is because 300 Blackout started out as a pistol cartridge. Well, that might be true of 300 Whisper, but it is not true of 300 Blackout. okay? It is not true. 300 Blackout was initially designed as a rifle cartridge. It always has been a rifle cartridge. Just because the government agency wanted a type of ammunition in the 300 Whisper type doesn't mean that 300 Blackout started as a pistol cartridge, okay? It means that the federal government, this agency, wanted one round that could be fired supersonic, and they wanted another round that was fired subsonic, okay? So there we go. So in dealing with this agency, what they told AAC, this is what they wanted from this new cartridge. Number one, create a reliable 30 caliber cartridge compatible with the AR platform. Now you got to remember, okay, this was in 2010, right? 2010. They wanted a 30 caliber cartridge compatible with the AR platform. Number two, to create the optimal for sound and flash suppressed fire. Number three, develop supersonic ammunition which matches 7.62 by 39 ballistics. Now, you can say what you want, right? You can say what you want. But here it is, black and white. You can read it for yourself in the article. That was one of the criteria that this agency wanted. They wanted a supersonic cartridge that would match the AK-47. Okay, so there you go. 4, provide the ability to penetrate commonly encountered barriers. Utilize existing M16 magazines at their full capacity. Encapsulate these capabilities in a lightweight, low recoiling, yet durable package, the AR family. Now, Mr. Silvers was saying when they first started this process, they decided up front that 7.62 by 39, 6.8 SPC, and 6.5 Grendel were not going to be part of the selection process because of magazine issues. Either they would have to make a new magazine to make that specific cartridge work, or in the case of the 6.8 SPC, you can't get 30 rounds in the magazine. Okay, you can't use the existing magazine to full capacity. Okay, and it was also decided that this cartridge was going to use the existing bolt that the M16 M4 family already uses. Okay, what this means is that the new cartridge, when it was put into use by the military, would only require a barrel change on the existing M4. The new cartridge was able to be suppressed using subsonic cartridges at 220 grains. It was able to match the 7.62 by 39 fired from a 16-inch barrel or 16-inch .3 barrel, the AK-47, at 300 yards using supersonic ammunition at 125 grain. Okay? Now, the reason they did this, and this is what the author states, is this allowed what a lot of people call silence to violence. So you go out on a mission, you've got 1 or 2 magazines loaded with subsonic ammunition, right? And you're going out there doing the work, and when the mission goes loud, right? Loud meaning somebody starts shooting an AK and everybody in a 3 freaking block radius can hear that AK firing, okay? You don't need a suppressor anymore, right? Freaking surprise, silence, all that good bullshit. It's over, right? It's over. So what you can do is you trade magazines. You trade magazines to the 125 grain supersonic ammunition, and now you can ballistically match the individuals who are shooting you with AK-47s, right? That was the goal. That was the purpose, okay? Now, you may not agree with that, but hey, read the article, right? Read the article. Now, what's amazing about this new cartridge is we're matching the AK-47 or mimicking the AK-47 ballistics from a 10.5-inch barrel. Okay, now, I see a lot of people talking about all this stuff and SBRs and blah, 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 right? And how cool it is to have a rifle that's 10.5 inches or less. Okay, fine. So here's the deal. If I can mimic the AK-47 with its 16.3 inch barrel from an AR with a 10.5 inch barrel, why would I not want to do that? Okay, that's a good thing. All right, the reason we're able to do that is because of modern bullet design. The 300 Blackout has a higher chamber pressure and a higher bullet coefficient. So the bullet coefficient for 300 Blackout is 0.379, while the bullet coefficients of cartridges produced Eastern Bloc or by American companies who are following the Eastern Bloc pattern, that bullet coefficient is 0.175. So the bullet coefficient of the 300 Blackout is almost twice as much, or better, twice as gooder, okay? That's why you can achieve the same or mimic the ballistics of the AK-47 from a 10.5 inch barrel, okay? It's just better design. Okay, let's talk about pros and cons. After I drink coffee. All right. The 300 Blackout was designed to be shot from a 14.5 inch barrel or shorter. Increasing the length to 16 inches or longer, you get diminishing returns. Okay, so it was not designed to be shot from a 16, 18, or 20 inch barrel. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it wasn't designed for that. PDWs, or personal defense weapons, or rifles with barrel lengths less than 10.5 inches require a gas regulator when firing 300 Blackout, or that weapon was specifically designed to fire suppress. So I'm going to say that one more time because I think I jacked it up. If you have a 300 Blackout AR and the barrel length is less than 10.5 inches and you're trying to shoot suppressed, it's going to require a gas regulator. Okay, 10.5 inches, not required. You'll be fine. 10.5 inch barrels require an SBR stamp. 7.62 by 39 is effective out to 500 meters using a 20 inch barrel. Okay. Today in 2026, the gap in ammunition is closing pretty quick. The current bulk cost of Eastern Bloc style 7.62 by 39 is about 56 cents per round, while the cost of American branded premium hunting cartridge is about $1.75 a round. The current bulk cost of American manufactured 125 grain 300 Blackout is about $1 per round, although you can find 300 Blackout made by Wolf as low as 50 cents per round. Premium hunting rounds and subsonic rounds range from $1.25 to $1.75. Specialty cartridges for 300 Black produced by manufacturers like Black Hills, Barnes, Corbon, and Wilson Combat can be as much as $3 a round. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've discussed the why. We discussed what the projectile was designed to do. Now we're going to talk about why I think people have such a bad opinion of 300 Black, and that's because of YouTube. Okay? Is the design really that bad, or we're just getting a lot of opinion from people on YouTube who don't like 300 Blackout? Okay? The first one I saw was nothing fancy. Okay? He published a video called 300 Blackout, the best cartridge you don't need. Okay? And comments on that video by some people are something like this: an American copy of the all-time great tested 7.62 by 39. Okay, that's the kind of comments you would see. Now, my question is, was Nothing Fancy's video a good representation of 300 Black, or was it a hit piece? And the question you might think is, why would Nothing Fancy produce a hit piece? Okay, so I'm going to explain it. I'm not going to go off the rails here. I'm going to explain it to you by talking about two other different videos Nothing Fancy did. The first one he created, it was a video called Fear Not, You Have an M1A. Okay, which basically he's having a love session with the M1A. It's obvious he loves the M1A. Okay, obvious. Then he did a later video called PTR 91 Full Review. And it's pretty obvious in that video he does not like the G3 design. He just doesn't like it. Okay, and that's fine. Just say it up front. I don't like it. Okay, I'm good with that. If he would have started with that, I would have been good with it. Okay, during the end of the video, his final thing was, well, it weighs too much. I was like, it weighs too much. Okay, how much is the M1A, just a standard M1A weigh? Okay, so I went and looked it up. 9.5 pounds. Okay, how much does the standard G3 PTR 91 weigh? About 9.7 pounds. Okay, so it's 0.2 of a pound heavier than the M1A. Is that what makes it too heavy? The answer is no. No, if you've ever had to, if you were ever in a weapons company or had to hump the pig, the M60, shit, no. No. 9.7 pounds is not heavy. You hump the pig, if you have to hump the pig and it's like 90 degrees and 100% humidity, that shit's heavy. Okay? Anyway, at the end of the video, I heard his son say, but what do I know? I'm just a dumb-ass civilian. And I'm like, oh, okay. They started laughing, and I'm like, oh, okay. There we go. Right? Out of the mouth of babes. Out of the mouth of babes. Okay? So was it a review or was it a hit piece? Was it a review or just an opinion? Because sometimes an opinion can become a hit piece. If you don't say up front, well, this is my opinion, I think it sucks. Okay, if you don't say that up front, then it's more than an opinion. It becomes a hit piece. At least, that's what I believe. Okay? Excuse me. Coffee break. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Well, it's true that a 300 Black costs more than 7.62 by 39 and 5.56. It's also true that 300 Black performs just as well as a 7.62 by 39 fired from an AK-47 at 300 meters. And it outperforms a 5.56 AR with a barrel shorter than 12.5 inches. And 300 Black outperforms any barrel length up to, or any barrel length shorter than 16 inches firing M855. Is 300 Blackout the same as 7.62 by 39? No, it is not. Okay, I'm not going to make that claim. It's just freaking silly, right? It is not. It was designed to mimic the AK-47 at 300 meters, okay, firing the 125 grain projectile, but it is not the same. You can't put a 20-inch barrel on a for 300 Black and expect to be combat effective at 500 yards, but you can with 7.62 by 39. Okay, so it's not the same. Does it cost more than 7.62 by 39? Yes, it does. Should you choose 300 Blackout over 5.56? No. As long as your barrel length is 12.5 inches or more, then 5.56 is an excellent choice. Okay. Are any of the things that we just talked about a good reason not to consider 300 Blackout? No. Nothing I've said from this from when I was talking about things I've said about good video quality, and to this point right here, none of the cons of what I've said, the bad things I've said about 300 Black, that does not mean you shouldn't consider it. Okay? Because there are good reasons to consider 300 Black. Okay? Excellent. It's excellent, meaning it's way better than 5.56 or 7.62 by 39 when you're using a suppressor and subsonic ammunition. Way better. The only problem is you get reduced effective range. Some people say it's 50, some people say it's 100. I don't know, right? But you are reducing your range when you use the subsonic ammunition. Another good reason to select 300 Black is you get better accuracy and the same performance as 7.62 by 39 at 300 meters from a 10.5 inch barrel, vice a 16.3 inch barrel. Now I've been watching YouTube, and now how long now? Years and years and years. Everybody talks about how great the 10.5 inch barrel is, except when they talk about 300 Blackout. Except when they talk about 7.62 by 39. Okay? All right, so it's also, 300 Black is also more effective at CQB ranges than a 5.56 shotgun from 10.5 inch barrel. Okay, hands down, no question, end of discussion. Okay, it uses the same bolt, the same magazines, the same lower receiver as a 5.56 AR. Okay, so you don't have to buy a new gun, right? If you're looking for a 30 caliber cartridge that is good from 0 to 300 meters, then 300 Blackout is a good choice for you if you have an AR, because you don't have to buy a new gun. All you got to get is a barrel, change your upper, and you're ready to go. Now, these are all the reasons I chose the 300 Black over an AK-47. I don't prefer the AK-47. I don't prefer that family. I just, my son loves the AK-74. He'll talk your freaking ears off for an hour about how great the AK-74 and its ammunition is. Okay, but I don't care for it. I don't like it. I like the AR family. That's just me, right? That's why I chose 300 Black. And one other reason I chose 300 Black is because the days of finding a gently used AK-47 that is cheap or inexpensive, however you want to put it, and spam cans full of inexpensive Eastern Com Block 7.62 by 39 ammunition, those days are over. Okay? Those days are over. All right? And that was one of the reasons that Nothing Fancy used in his video about why you don't need the 300 Black, because of the AK-47 and cheap ammunition. Okay? Well, that was good back then. Now, it's not true. Okay? So there you go. Now, one more thing we're going to do. We're going to close it up here. And I know there's going to be comments, right? There's going to be comments, right? But you might want to go and do some research, okay? Do some research, okay? Because all this stuff I've been saying, right? Like this document right here, that, funny enough, that M26 Lemon Grenade had on one of his videos, this document right here, talking about the M855 green tip, right? I've been complaining about that for a long time, right? Been complaining about it, right? The whole, the specs say that the maximum effective range of the M4 is 500 meters or 500 yards, but that's not true, right? Your maximum effective range is based on your cartridge selection, And you really don't want to use M855 green tip except in the suppression role. Okay, so there you go. Have at it, right? If you want to call me a FUD or crazy, go right ahead. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you to go look at the documents. I'm going to ask you, like I did on M26 lemon grenades video, right? I'm going to ask you to produce your evidence. Produce your evidence, like me. Look in the daggone description, grab the links, go look at them, read them, study them, live it, love it, learn it. You know the deal. Be a student, right? Be a student of the gun. Well, hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you guys next time.